Howdy folks, it's me, Josh. So since I've been pretty busy working on other projects, I decided to do another contest in order to free up some time. You all know how this works by now. I had an AI text generator come up with some prompts for alternate history scenarios, took the ones I liked the best, and had my Discord server vote on which one they liked the best. Then, I had them come up with scenarios for that prompt and pick the one that I found to be the most interesting. And the scenario for today is, what if the Treaty of Versailles was never signed? Let's get into it. So, the year is 1918 and the Western Front of World War I had collapsed for Germany. The war had been going on for over 4 years at this point and all sides were exhausted. But with the American entry into the war in 1917, the Western Front had completely collapsed for Germany and their defeat was made inevitable. And even though the military leadership wasn't willing to give up quite yet, many sailors weren't willing to give up their lives for what they saw as a lost cause and started a mutiny. This mutiny against the leadership in Germany would soon spread across the entire country, resulting in what would be known as the German Revolution. The revolutionaries managed to overthrow the government, forcing Kaiser Wilhelm to abdicate and proclaiming a new republic on November 9th, 1918. And a couple days later, on November 11th, the new government signed an armistice with the Entente, paving the way for the end of the war. However, many communists in Germany weren't satisfied with the new republic, and so, in January of 1919, the Spartacist uprising broke out, ultimately being crushed by the new government through their paramilitary group known as the Freikorps. Shortly after, the Entente began their negotiations for a peace treaty, excluding German diplomats from attending. And a few months later, in June, the treaty would be finalized, with the terms being extremely harsh on Germany. For instance, Germany was forced to pay the Entente a crap ton of money, demilitarize the Rhineland, reduce the size of their military, give up a ton of land, yada yada yada, all that stuff. And needless to say, no one in Germany was happy about these terms. The government of Germany fiercely protested the treaty, refusing to sign it unless certain provisions, such as the War Guilt Clause, were removed. And the Entente responded by telling them to shut up and sign the treaty already or be destroyed. And even so, the German government wouldn't budge. The Chancellor, Philipp Scheidemann, even decided that he'd rather resign than sign the treaty. And his successor, Gustav Bauer, said that Germany would only sign if the provisions they objected to were removed, with the Entente telling him to shut up and sign the treaty within the next 24 hours or be destroyed. And so, the German government finally relented, signing the treaty and all that came with it. The treaty would end up completely wrecking Germany. The economy was bust, any sense of national pride was destroyed, and Germany was essentially at the mercy of its neighbors. And this would ultimately culminate in the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, who would destroy the Republic and ultimately drive the country to World War II. But what if that changed? What if, in an alternate timeline, the German government still refused to sign the Treaty of Versailles? After the German government fails to sign the Treaty of Versailles, the Entente would continue the war, pushing into Germany. However, as the war starts back up again, it's very likely that Germany would see more rebellions and revolts, similarly to the ones they had just seen. More communists would rise up again in protest of the continuation of the war, and with the German military having to face this, as well as the Entente invasion across the Rhine, Germany would completely collapse. Again. With the Entente swiftly capturing much of Western Germany, the Communists would overthrow the Weimar government, creating the Socialist Republic of Germany. However, this doesn't stop the Entente, who continue their push into Germany, managing to take Berlin by late 1919. The Entente would draft a new treaty, known as the Treaty of Potsdam, which ends up being even harsher against the Germans than Versailles. France ends up annexing Alsace-Lorraine and the Saarland, and sets up a puppet state in the Rhineland. Belgium is guaranteed independence, Germany pays even more reparations than in our timeline and is forced to adopt a new, even weaker, and somehow even less popular republic, and White Russia is given back their old lands, as well as East Prussia. By the time the 1920s came, though, Europe is placed once again in a place of uncertainty. Shortly after the end of the war, communists in Germany once again revolt, this time finally overthrowing the democratic government and re-establishing the Socialist Republic of Germany. Meanwhile, the Russian Civil War is still raging on, but seeing what had just happened in Germany, the Western powers would want to prevent another communist revolution from succeeding, so they begin sending large amounts of men and supplies in support of White Russia, helping to put them in a much better position. And with this increased confidence, the White Russians decide, in order to take more land and gain more legitimacy from the West, that they would invade communist Germany. This ends up being a huge mistake. As soon as the Russians invade, the communist Germans mount an enormous defense, completely destroying the invading Russians. And seeing the success the Germans end up having against the Russians, Poland begins a rebellion against Russia, seeking their independence and further straining the Russian military. And with the stress of fighting a civil war, being crushed by the Germans, and facing a rebellion in Poland, White Russia is forced to surrender to Communist Germany, giving the Germans East Prussia and Poland its independence, with the Bolsheviks becoming close allies with the Germans. Shortly after, the Germans then reorganized and attacked the several states formed under the old Austro-Hungarian Empire. Galicia ends up being split between Poland and Russia, Austria is annexed by Germany, Dalmatia is given to the Italians, and Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia are all given communist governments. And in 1924, Germany, the Soviet Union, and all the states they liberated then established the Union of European Socialist Republics as a defensive alliance. In America, though, without much involvement in the reorganization of Europe, the US slowly returns to isolationism. And in Russia, the Bolshevik government begins to collapse due to the whites getting more support from the West. The Germans, though worried that their ally might collapse, might start communist rebellions in the Baltics and Ukraine, distracting the whites, ultimately gaining their independence and joining the UESR. And with Russia in complete anarchy, many foreign empires begin creating spheres of influence within Russia, similarly to what they did in China, with Britain taking Central Asia and Japan taking Siberia. And by the 1930s, with Communist Germany continuing to spread its ideology to all corners of the continent and looking to retake the lands the West had taken from them, and with Russia in a state of utter anarchy, the world once again returns to its tense state before the war, with another looming on the horizon. I want to thank Cooper for creating this fantastic scenario, and I look forward to seeing what you guys make in the future. So, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to stick around for more. And hey, you can also maybe subscribe or something. And if you want to be able to participate in the next contest, make sure to join my Discord server with the link in the description. So, that's it for today's video. Well, till next time, see ya.